Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.
G'day, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with crank.com. So tonight, wherever you are in the world, it's a great pleasure that we're getting to have a chat with the powerful vocalist Lachlan and one of the founding members of Valhalore, who's been an instrumental part in shaping the band's unmistakable sound. Since their inception in 2013, Valhalore has captivated audiences, myself included, with its intricate fusion of melodic death, power, symphonic and folk metal. The band's journey has been nothing short of epic the last few years, from their debut album From Voyage Into Eternity that resonated across Australian shores to their acoustic experimentations, global tours and their relentless drive. They are due to release their highly anticipated Beyond the Star, which does drop through RPM Raw Records on April 11th. Lachlan, thank you so much for joining me, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is great fun.
Absolute bloody pleasure, mate. First off, for the uninitiated, man, can you tell me where this all began for you guys?
Look, Valhalore is, in essence, we're just six nerds who love Lord of the Rings and love heavy metal, and somehow in this crazy old world managed to find each other and write music together. And you know, since starting this band back in 2013 and our growth through to kind of 2017 when we dropped our first album, we've been lucky enough to tour Australia and start to tour around the world a little bit and meet a whole bunch of epic bands. And now here we are with our second album finally coming out. So it's a good time.
Yeah, well, it's definitely taken a little bit of work, but that debut album there was an absolute ripper. Voyage into Eternity, and did take a couple of years to kind of get your wheels rolling, you know what I mean? You just can't form a band and go, okay, then here's your album. You guys were rocking around in the Brisbane scene for a while, honing that sound before you laid that first album, but when you did drop it down, it was very well received. What was it like working on that album?
Oh, that was just... it was one of those moments when you don't quite know if it's going to hit with people still, So we were kind of recording everything in Anthony, our guitarist's parents' house, and doing everything ourselves, and kind of, we'd put out an EP at that point just to get something out there, and we played some shows, and we thought, okay, people are digging this music, but, we've got this kind of fairly long-winded album for a first, album, especially for an Aussie band. And we thought, we enjoy this kind of music, but no one else is really going to like this. And then, 10 years later, we're still going strong. So I'm guessing more than a few people liked it. So no, it's fun to look back on that stuff and see how much we've kind of changed and grown in the time since then. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yous are up in the Brisbane scene there. So what was it like kind of playing around there? There's some great bands as well, kind of touring around there and playing around there. The Brisbane scene's absolutely unreal, as are all the scenes in Australia. It's hard to keep up with all the great bands as well. But what was that time like, looking back at your journey from 2013 up until prior to this album? Some moments that kind of really stand out most for you as transformative as an artist and as a band.
Yeah, well, I think when we kind of first started I think we played our first live show at the end of 2015. And around that time, there weren't a lot of, folk metal bands or power metal bands, symphonic metal bands, all of that. It was all very kind of like thrash and hardcore and all that kind of stuff. And there was a bunch of us who kind of all started around the same time. And, I think we're one of the few, if only lucky bands to still be going, especially since the pandemic. So, it's just interesting seeing how the scene has kind of changed since we started through till now. And then, as you said, we've been kicking around here up in Brizzy, playing some amazing local shows and local festivals, getting to meet and to see a bunch of our, friends and peers kind of come up through the scene and go on to bigger and better things. And then, nowadays to be able to say we've toured with, Arch Enemy and Blind Guardian and all these kinds of bands, it's just like, hang on, as I said at the beginning, we're just six nerds who like Lord of the Rings. How the hell did we get here to play these shows with these, global superstars? It's been a wild ride for sure.
Yeah, well, you're right. The power metal scene and the folk metal scene has kind of boomed the last few years. And you guys have this really great melodic death sound that kind of sits in there bloody well, that can kind of transcend those boundaries. For me, I love all sorts of metal. I'll play like power metal,
Yeah.
straight to the
Yeah.
brutal death. And at night,
Mhm.
I'll be listening to classical music. I'm the same. I'm a
Yeah.
massive nerd, and music like yours,
Mm.
I could sit there and RPG all day on my Xbox, no worries. You know what I mean? A bit of The Witcher. And it's pretty
Yeah.
cool because you also did that Blind Guardian cover on that Solace and Solitude EP as well. And then you ended
Yeah.
up touring with them and supporting them as well. How's it been sharing the stages with these guys as well and kind of learning a little off of them too?
Oh, it's been, an absolute just pinch me, am I dreaming moment. Like Blind Guardian for me were kind of my gateway into metal, let alone symphonic metal. Because prior to that, I was listening to like, hard rock and punk and kind of, 50s and 60s rock and roll. And then I heard Blind Guardian and Nightwish and I thought, holy shit, like there's this whole other world of music that I just had no idea existed. So, seeing an email come through saying, "Hey, do you guys want to tour with Blind Guardian?" I nearly had a heart attack, mate. Like it was just this crazy dream come true moment. And yeah, just it's been really cool with all of these bands that we've had the pleasure of touring with, just seeing how they're essentially just us a few years down the track in that, obviously they're way more successful, but like they still all just they work their asses off. They're super passionate about what they do. They're there to get the job done. They're there to have fun. They're there to look after each other and to put on a good show. There's no egos. There's no, there's no diva-ness. It was just really nice to see just how humble and hardworking all these bands, even at the top of their game still are. So I think that was the biggest, takeaway from us or for us was just seeing that, the work never stops. And, just over the years, a few more people come out to your shows, but otherwise you kind of stay that you've just got to stay passionate and keep working hard.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you guys have had to bloody do as well, because the last few years, like, well, you can't bloody mention it because you guys were just starting to get rolling, and then the world kind of crashed down. You're like, oh, I'm off to working, and
Yeah.
everything's kind of fucking kicking off, and that kind of would have, and you're working towards Beyond the Stars as well. Then everything kind of happened as well. What was that period like for you guys as a band, kind of getting through that? But it would have taken a fair bit of drive as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, we've always had, as individuals and therefore as a band, like we're all pretty big dreamers and, we want to kind of, aim big. And what's the saying? If you shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll end up among the stars or whatever. So we've
Shoot
always
for
had
the
these kind of
stars.
big, yeah, shoot for the stars. Exactly. So we've had these big goals. And since our first show, actually, like ever, our pre-show little, huddle and our kind of pre-show motto was every show is Vakken 2020. And we just had that energy and that drive from, as I say, like our first show. It didn't matter if there was, 10 people in a pub or 50 people at one of our shows or 100 people at like a local festival. It didn't matter. We were just like, every show is Vakken 2020. We just have to go out there and bring that energy. And then sure enough, we booked Vakken 2020 and we thought, okay, great. Like, we've invited this in. We've, manifested this crazy dream into existence. And so, we're all super excited about that. Then obviously the pandemic kind of came and swept that dream away. But, never say never. We're hoping to still get back there one day. And, instead of going over to play Vakken and to do another Europe tour around that time, we were able to get in the studio and put our heads down and work on this album instead. And, it gave us a deadline and a time frame, because prior to that we just thought, oh, we've got all these songs that are kind of like half finished and we'll just keep working on them throughout the year and between these other tours and we'll see what happens. And then we thought, oh, okay, well, we've got 6 weeks here that we can't go to Europe that starts in 3 weeks time. Let's just finish these songs, get it all together, get rehearsing and just jump in the studio. So it kind of lit a fire under us. But then in the bigger sense, not knowing, because we had to cancel so many Australian shows and Australian tours around that time. I think, over those kind of couple of years, we cancelled more shows than we played, which I know was the case for pretty much every band. But the big question was like, are we ever going to get on stage again? Are we ever going to even be able to perform this album? So yeah, no, it's nice to be on the other side of it. And I'm just glad we made it out. And again, thanks to legends like yourself, we're still here and still able to write music and put on shows.
Yeah, well, I was fairly busy through that time as well, kind of promoting and chatting to bands, supporting, and kind of kicked it off for me to kind of keep doing what I'm doing. But you did hit on a point there, playing on stage. It didn't matter if it was 50 or 500 people or
Mm,
5,000 people you guys are playing to. And I've seen
mm,
that with other bands like Airborne and bands that are
mm.
like really big now. And I think that's important
Yeah,
for other bands to take note of. If you want to go out there and really fucking achieve things and kick goals, and I know you guys are going to be on walking off the backs of this album, which we'll talk more about. But if you
yeah,
really want to be kicking goals, you've got to be going out there and treating every performance like that as a professional performance. Go, you know what? Doesn't matter if there's 50 or 5,000 people here. We're going to
mm,
play the shit out of this show. And you do see it with bands like, as I mentioned, Airborne, King
yeah,
Parrot, who are fucking
yeah.
killing it over in the US, and all these Near Bliviscaris and all these great
Oh
bands
yeah,
that are just killing it overseas as well. So that is an
yeah,
interesting note to point there.
yeah. No, yeah, yeah. I think that's it. Again, you've just got to. I think I learned that from watching bands like Kiss, for example. You
Yeah.
see videos from their like first show in a basement in 1973, and they already had the makeup and the pyrotechnics and all this crazy shit because they just went straight out the gate and they went, well, we want people to notice us, so let's just hit it hard. Let's not do the watered down version and just keep every show, up here. And hopefully it just, we always say put on an arena show in a pub has always been the goal for us. So, yeah.
Exactly. And you're going to be putting on some big shows with Beyond the Stars. This album is an absolute fucking ripper. It does drop April 11th, man. Tell me all about it. What was the songwriting process like for this album? Because you did have quite a few years to go over it and create this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we kind of started working on this. I mean, some of these songs, the ideas were kicking around in kind of 2017, 2018, around that kind of same time period. And then, as the years went by between our first album and then, as you've said, our kind of our acoustic EP in 2018, and then we released our standalone single Legacy in 2019, and that was meant to be kind of the lead single off this new album, as we were still kind of writing all these other songs. Um, and then, yeah, COVID happened and our plans kind of changed, and we had a lot of back and forth with, different labels and different managers and all these kinds of things, which were really exciting chats to have. But ultimately, we kind of just went, you know what, we are the most passionate about what we do, so let's just do it ourselves and work for ourselves. And then obviously within that time, the pandemic happened. I had to move out of where I was living. So I was living with Anthony and Sophie. So suddenly half the band was living together in this pandemic, and it created this, kind of creative bubble. And so, while it was a very stressful time, it was also a very creative one. And I think a lot of that kind of poured into the writing process, particularly when it came to lyrics and things like that. And, we never do things by halves. We always want to try and write stuff or, compose things that are a little bit harder than we can probably quite play at that point in time. So it forces us to get better with every record. So I think there was a lot of that, of just, writing things and trying to sing things that are a bit harder than we'd normally do. And, really push ourselves to step up as musicians and as a band. And I think as a result, we're really proud of this record and we can't wait for people to hear it.
Yeah, it's as I keep saying, it's an amazing album. With the lyrics, were there any overarching themes or stories behind for this album Beyond the Stars?
Yeah, I think, well, there definitely is, but I can't quite remember how it came to be because we were figuring out what the track list kind of musically was before I'd finished some of these lyrics. We're figuring out kind of the flow of the album, and, we had some songs fully written, so I knew what they were kind of about. And then as we looked at it, we realized it was very much not in a literal sense necessarily. There's not like a narrative or a story, but the theme is kind of just following, the creation of life and the creation of us as people, the creation of the universe, whatever you want to kind of think of it as, from that point of, nothingness and potential and all of the things that you can experience through to, doubts and depression. And then you've got love and you've got all of these things. So every song kind of denotes a particular aspect of like the human experience and human emotions, and then it all comes together in the final track, A Walk Among the Stars, which is all right, but one day we all return to nothingness, so what was the point of it all, and was there even a point? And I don't know, and then it kind of just became this beautiful flowy story without being a story. And we're, again, I'm really proud of the lyrics on this album. I think, again, I tried to challenge myself a bit and put myself out of my comfort zone, and hopefully people, it resonates with people.
Yeah, I love the flow, and I'm a sucker for a closing track. And I am like, I'm telling my age, but I love whole albums. So,
Yeah.
listening to this and listening to bands like yourself that still put that effort into how the whole album sounds, I actually sat there and listened to it, and then I listened to it again. And the way that it kind of, I'm sure it was unintentional, but sometimes it isn't, like A Walk Among the Stars when it flows back into life. I just sat there and I'm like, that just feels that even feels right. It feels like
Mhm.
you're doing the whole process again, the way that that album flows
Yeah.
back into itself again from the start there. And I just love the effort that bands like yourself do put into that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, that was very much, and it was a happy accident that then became more intentional as we thought about it. We wanted it to be, musically a metaphor for itself. And again, everything's a cycle. Life starts, life ends, and it begins again, and it's this whole endless thing. So yeah, there's that, and then within the album, there's a few little references to songs and little musical motifs off our first album for the very attentive listeners in there to be like, oh, maybe this song kind of refers to that, and all this. So it's a lot of little Easter eggs for the diehard fans, and just fun that we had kind of piecing it all together. Yeah.
Yeah, this album like has been very well received so far. That Storm, the Storm film clip, I think it's like 162,000 views on it
It's
already. Were you
crazy.
blown away by that very well done film clip? Tell me all about it and the track too.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, yeah, we kind of coming out of Wayfinder, the previous single, which was a ballad, and we kind of wanted to do something a bit left of center and have people go, oh, have they kind of fully softened their sound? Like, what the hell's going to happen with this album? And then just to slap everyone in the face and go, nah, here's a death metal song. Um, that was it's a really fun song to play. It was a really fun song to record in the studio. And yeah, that video clip was two of the most fun and crazy, challenging couple of days, wrangling snakes, and I got hypothermia and nearly drowned, and it was a whole thing, but it was so much fun, and you can laugh about it now, but at the time it was pretty scary. But like, yeah, no, it was crazy. And yeah, as you said, like the views for all of these videos is just absolutely astounding. We're happy if a video gets a few hundred views or a few thousand views. So now to be up in the hundreds of thousands is just absolutely insane. We're so thankful to everyone who's checked out these videos. So yeah, thank you.
So we dare say at least 100,000 of you are going to go out there and buy this album as well, because it's
Here's
dropping through
hoping.
Raining Phoenix Music, which must have been pretty good. RPM Raw. It must have been pretty good to be signed to this label, because the quality of talent that these guys are signing is bloody unreal. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's insane. And yeah, no, as I said, we were kind of umming and ahhing about doing everything independently, and we got to a point at the beginning of 2024. We thought, oh, we've been sitting on this album for so long, let's just put something out there and see what happens. And then off the back of our first single, Horizon, that we'd released, RPM Raw came to the table and said, we want to offer you this deal, and we're so glad that we did, because those guys are absolute legends, and the team that we have are absolutely incredible. And I don't know, it's just nice to know that people on that level can notice what we're doing down here in Australia, and kind of push us overseas, and it's really exciting.
Yeah. So for fans eagerly awaiting this album, how would you describe it?
I think it's a emotional and fantastical metal journey through the whole experience of the universe and one's life from the day we're born till the day we die.
That's a much better explanation than me. That's why I don't bloody write reviews anymore. You guys have a pretty cool tour coming up as well. You are playing at Crowbar in Sydney, which is 16th of May, down to Melbourne on my birthday, 17th of May.
Hell yeah.
Back home to Brisbane, that Crowbar up there, 23rd of May. And then you're off to Alice Springs as well. Oh, no, that one's Gold Coast, sorry. Mo's Desert
Gold Coast,
Clubhouse.
yeah.
Yeah, 25th of May. So pretty excited about this tour, yeah?
Oh yeah, no, it's we're aiming to do something really special for these shows, and it's an absolutely jam-packed set list. We want to bring, all the bells and whistles of a show, because these shows, yes, it's for us to finally play these songs, but it's more just a big party and a big thank you to all of the amazing Aussie listeners who've been so patient waiting for this record. So we really want to, as with everything, kind of step up and really bring it for this tour. So it's more than just your typical gig, and hopefully we make some lifelong memories on these shows with everybody.
Yeah, touring's really bloody important. It's also a good chance for everyone to actually go out and get their merch because, like me,
Mm.
I'm bad for that. But whenever I go to a gig, I don't drink alcohol anymore. But it's like,
Yep.
I need a couple more black shirts for my 100+ band shirt
Yeah,
collection.
that's
But it's where you get to meet the fans as well, and you get to make those connections as well from people. They get to go to shows like me and go, man, fuck Valhalore, we're insane. Check this out.
yeah. No, we love playing shows. Like, we obviously love writing music and being in the studio, but yeah, I think we're all happiest when we're on stage and on the road. So yeah, and it's just nice to be doing our own headline shows for the first time in years after, some amazing support runs and playing some amazing bucket list shows with bucket list bands. But no, it's nice to be doing our own thing again. We're, really excited to share this experience with everybody.
Yeah, after this tour, hopefully RPM or someone like that can get you over to Warken because you guys are going to absolutely fucking kill it in Europe. That is for sure. Lachlan, thank you so very much for getting to have a chat with me about the band and the latest album. Do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there, mate?
Oh, we'd just love to say a massive thank you to all our amazing listeners, all our fans, both here in Australia and around the world. Grab the album on April 11th when it comes out, and if you're in Australia along the East Coast, we can't wait to see you all in May.
That's it. Everyone get some Valhalore, chuck it in the stereos, crank it really bloody loud because the neighbours are going to want to hear it too. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.